Jackie Cutforth here with Rolling Hills Farm and the Ultimate Garden Planner and Journal that I have created for you. So today I'm just going to do a little walkthrough of the planner and journal, show you how it works, and show you all the things that are included. So here we are at the cover page. Then we open up here and we have the seed list. So I have organized this how I want it for myself. You can organize it however you like, but I started with the seed list. So this seed list can be used for several different things. It could be used to just keep an inventory of all your seeds, because I know you all are seed hoarders out there like me, because once you become a gardener, you become a seed hoarder, right? So you can keep track of all your inventory of seeds, or you can use it to just keep track of the seeds you're growing in that current year. Okay, so I put the variety here, and then the date and where you got it, and then this section is for all the notes. So we can put down, did it grow well? Did it grow bad? Did it have good germination? Was there a flood that year and it just flooded everything out? Or maybe it was a drought. Maybe it did really exceptional in a drought and that was really good and something you want to look for. But whatever, we want to write all these things down so we can make a better decision. Okay, do I really want to be growing this? Should I keep trying this, or is it just something that is not going to work in our growing conditions? Because if we want to have the best gardens possible, we need to pay attention to these things and we need to act accordingly. So we're keeping really good notes so that we can get that best garden. So here's the seed list. I guys, I just got planted on my mind. Okay, I printed on both sides of the paper because I'm a tree hugger like that, and I want to save paper and, you know, save the planet and all that good stuff. So I printed on both sides of the paper. I still got more to go over here, but that is the seed list for you. And then when you don't want to print on both sides of the paper is if you use marker like me. Here we are with the garden layout, and we have 4 gardens. So I thought, oh, I'll print it on both sides of the paper. And then I decided to use marker, and then it bled through. So don't make that same mistake. Anyhow, here is the garden layout worksheet, and I want to show you it with the crop rotation guide, because this, even though I know how to do all the crop rotation, it was so helpful to have this sitting next to me, just at a glance, to just know everything, especially with my pregnancy brain right now, you guys. I just rely on this. Okay, so last year we planted cabbage here, so I could look over here and say, okay, cabbage is in the leaf group. I need to have something from the fruit group to plant there now. And it just made everything grow really, really quickly, and it was just so nice, and I knew everything was where it should be, and I loved it, and I know that you will love it too. So maybe you've never done crop rotation before. There can be very, very complicated crop rotation systems with 9 or more groups, and no, that's not really feasible for the home gardener. So this is a simple 4-group crop rotation system, and it is awesome, and you should really do it because it's going to really benefit your garden. Okay, so we're going to work backwards here because we're going to show you why each one follows each. Okay, so the legumes, they fix nitrogen into the soil. Okay, we all heard that so many times about legumes. That's their special little trick. Okay, they fix the nitrogen into the soil. The leaf group, the lettuce and greens, spinach, corn, herbs, brassica, they need a lot of nitrogen to grow all of those greens. Okay, so they go after the legumes. Now the fruit group, they too need nitrogen, but we don't want to give them as much nitrogen as the leaf group, because then they'll just grow all this beautiful foliage and not very much fruit. And so the leaf group takes some of that nitrogen out of the ground, prepares it for the fruit group. The fruit group requires more phosphorus. So this has tomatoes, eggplants, cucumbers, peppers, squash, melon, and potatoes. I know they're not a fruit, guys, but this is where they go because they get a lot of the same diseases as tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers, and the same pests. So we want to make sure we're not planting anything in this group in the same spot for preferably 4 years, so that if, like, say they got verticillium wilt, well, potatoes can also get verticillium wilt, or peppers can get verticillium wilt, or eggplant. So if we planted them where the tomatoes got verticillium wilt, they are going to get verticillium wilt. Verticillium wilt can be in the soil for years, for 4 years up to. So that is why we don't plant them there. Okay. Now the roots, they don't require as much as the fruit and the leaf groups. They're not quite as heavy feeders. They require more potassium. So they follow the fruit. In this group is carrots, parsnips, radishes, beets, garlic, and onions. Okay. And then after the roots, go back in the legumes, and they are going to get all that nitrogen back in the soil again and get it prepared for another round. Okay. So helpful and just really easy to follow. And just, you know, why not have it right there to look at when you're planting your garden? So easy. So that is the garden layout, the crop rotation guide. Next we have the seed starting guide. Okay, now we all know that when we plant is based on our first and last frost dates, okay? So we have our crops here. Then we have if they need to be started indoors, when they need to be started indoors, when to transplant them outside or when to direct sow, what the seed depth is, and the spacing that is required in the garden, okay? So this is a 2-page guide for that there to get all the crops in. And then this is like a little index for this because they just have some extra little planting tips for some of the crops over there. Okay, we did the crop rotation, and now here we are at the Pollinator Garden planning worksheet. And I know a lot of you guys out there are trying to feed the pollinators and save the pollinators just like me, and maybe you want to have bees. We want bees, and even though we live out in the middle of nowhere and like our nearest neighbor is over a mile away, we want to make sure that our bees are just staying right here and they're not going over somewhere else and getting some GMO flowers or corn or something. So we want to make sure we have everything they need here. And so we need to make sure that they have everything, something to eat during the whole season, okay? So they suggest that they have at least 5 different types of flowering plant, at minimum, preferably 20, okay? And so this is why we're keeping track of this all, making sure we always have something blooming. So we're going to put the variety here, and then when is it blooming? So within spring, is it blooming in early spring, mid-spring, late spring? Maybe it's blooming the whole time. And then we can see, like right here, like I don't have much in spring. I need to fill out another paper, but I don't have much in early spring. So down here I'm writing I need to get more fruiting bushes because they will help me fill in this hole. And so that right early in the spring when the bees are just coming out, they will have something yummy to eat, okay? And we want lots of varieties. You know, each plant is going to give them a different nutrient. And so if we only have one thing, then they're going to become nutrient deficient. And so we want as many varieties as we can, okay? So here we have the bloom time, then the type. So is it a perennial, a tree, a shrub, an annual, and the color. So I know all you lovelies out there that we like to sometimes design our garden with a color scheme or something. So this is how we can keep track of that. And there's also certain colors that pollinators are more attracted to. And you guys, I have really awesome blog posts on this. www.myrollingHillsFarm.com/blog, and you could see it gives you all the varieties, over 100 varieties of pollinator plants, their bloom time, their hardiness zone, where you can get them, like everything you need to know about them, herbs, trees, bushes, flowering plants, everything, okay? So it has the color, the garden you put it in, and then your source, so that if we need more, we can go back and get more. So here's spring, and I didn't plant winter because we ain't gonna be growing anything here in North Dakota in the winter time. There's nothing gonna be blooming, but you may have something. So there is a worksheet for winter that you could print if you are in those shoes, those blessed shoes, and you can grow stuff in the winter. Then you go ahead and you plant, you print that worksheet. Okay, so summer and then fall. Okay, then we come to the harvest tracker. Now we all, you know, a lot of us, we're trying to produce as much as food as we can for our families. And sometimes maybe you're not, maybe you're just doing it for fun, and that's okay too, but it still is nice to see just how much you are growing. And you look at it and you realize, okay, we're really doing good. Or maybe you want to really do more. So either way, this is how it works. You're going to write the crop down, write the date you harvested, how much you harvested, and then what you used it for. How did you just eat it all fresh? Maybe you canned some, froze some, fermented, dried, however you used it. And then this little section is so that you can decide if you need to plant more of that crop. Because sometimes we plant it all out and it looks like we're going to have enough on paper, but it just doesn't end up that way. So we can keep track of it there, and we could say, okay, well, you know, come March, we were out of carrots, so we need to grow more carrots, or whatever it may be. That is what this section is for there. Okay, now we come to the months. My year started in February. Okay, you know, I don't plant anything in January, so I didn't print January, and I don't even have all of my months printed, and but I started in February because I do have to plant onions in February. And so this is, you know, your month in an overview. So you could see, what do I have to get done this month? So some of you would maybe have celery on here. We just direct sow our celery and it works great. So we don't have that on there. So here's our month at a glance. And actually, we'll look at this month. This month has more. So I could see this week is what I need to do this. This week, this nice glance, just like any other planner works. But then when I open it up and I come to that week, I'm going to put down, like maybe I said I was going to plant it this week, but I actually planted it on this day, and I'm going to write it down on that day. And I'm going to write down, you know, I put just tomatoes over there, but I'm going to write down all the different varieties of tomatoes I planted. Because too, sometimes you might find that you should be starting them earlier. This is another place. So if you don't know when you started them, but you get to plant them, you're like, okay, they're really too big, and you know, sometimes starts actually do better when they're smaller and they're transplanted. So I just started them way too earlier. When did I start them? If you don't have record of that, you'll never know. You'll never know. You won't have anything to go off, and you'll be guessing. So we just keep track of exactly when we started them. Okay, any projects you're working on, you know, just like a regular planner, maybe it's appointments, whatever. Priorities that maybe you're going to prepare something you have to get done this week, or to get yourself prepared for the next week, they're going to go right here. And then we have the note page so that you could do further, do more notes or do further journaling, because, you know, maybe there's a big project you're working on. You want to keep track how it's going. A new technique you're trying in the garden. Maybe you want to put some inspirational quotes or something you read in a book. Maybe it was something you read in my book. Just write it down on there. Keep track of it all, just for inspiration, and just, you know, it can even just be used like a journal. And you can print, of course, as many pages as you need for your own personal use. So that just makes it really, really handy. So I hope that you guys have liked this, and that it's so useful for you, that I want you guys to be able to have the best garden, and just to help you in any way I can to be a successful gardener, so that you can have that food freedom, grow yourself good healthy food, and for your family and just the people around you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, just let me know, and you guys have a wonderful day.